In this video lecture, we are going to discuss about the procedure for designing a microwave amplifier for a specified gain. The last lecture we discussed about the procedure for designing a microwave amplifier for maximum gain. Sometimes the microwave amplifier which need to be designed for a specified gain. Most of the time, the required specified gain will be lower than the maximum available gain. We all know that in the microwave amplifier system, we have one active device. The active device can be either PJT or FET or similar device can be used as a active device to design the microwave power amplifier. So this is the device, let us say a PJT. So which has here two port. So this is port 1, this is the port 2, and the source is the RF generator which generate the signal or some system where the signal to be amplified is pumped from this source. Let us take the source impedance or resistance as 50 ohm, and there is a load. Let us say the load also 50 ohm, and the source is connected with the input terminal of the transistor through a matching network, that is input matching network. Similarly, the port 2 of the transistor, that is output port of the transistor, is connected with load through a network is called the output matching network. This is input matching network. This one is the output matching network. And the gain has three different stages gain. When the input matching network matches the source with the input terminal of the transistor, then which gives the maximum gain GS maximum. Then the transistor which has a inbuilt gain of S21 modulus of square, that gain is G0. And the output matching network, when this network matches complex conjugately with the load, then which gives the gain of GL maximum. This will be the three different stage gains. The total transducer power gain will be the summation of GS maximum and G0 and GL maximum. The last class we discussed about the formula derivation, how to arrive the formula expressions. Now we are going to do the deliberate mismatching at the load side through the network input matching network Similarly, we are going to do the deliberate mismatch at the output side by the output matching network. By the way, we can reduce the maximum available gain at the source, GS maximum, and the maximum available gain from the load, GL maximum. So our aim is we are going to introduce the deliberate mismatching in both input and output matching network, which in turn reduce the gain. Then we will be adding the G0 together, which gives our required gain. Because most of the time the specified gain or the given gain will be lower than the maximum available transducer power gain from the amplifier system. This is the procedure that we are going to use, and the input impedance of the transistor is represented in terms of gamma as gamma in, and from port 2 it will be gamma out. Similarly, the reflection towards the source through the input matching network will be gamma S. Similarly, the gamma reflection looking towards the load through the output matching network will be gamma L. And our source resistance is 50 ohm and load resistance also 50 ohm. So the first step of the design is we have to choose the required GS and GL from the maximum gain GS max and GL max. Then we have to add with G0. This gain should be our required or specified gain. Then we have to draw the constant gain circle, one for the input side, another one for the output side. And then we have to transform the input resistance 50 ohm into the corresponding source impedance ZS. ZS can be obtained from the gamma S from the Smith chart simply by reading the gamma S marked point. Similarly, we have to transform the 50 ohm into the required ZL value by introducing the output matching network using Smith chart. Here we are going to use the Smith chart to compute the length of the series transmission line and open circuited stub length. So this is one example design. Design an amplifier to have a gain of 10 dB at 6 GHz. Plot the constant gain circles for the chosen GS and GL. And also design the matching network at the source end with open circuited stubs. The thing is, we have to design an amplifier at the specified gain of 10 dB at 6 GHz. For that, we have to compute the GS maximum and GL maximum. From the GS maximum and GL maximum, we are going to choose the GS and GL value to get the 10 dB of required gain after added with the G0 of the transistor, that is the gain offered by the transistor itself. Then we have to design a matching network, one at the source and another one at the load end, to transform the 50 ohm characteristics impedance into the required gamma S and gamma L value. So the scattering parameter of a transistor at 6 GHz at 50 ohm characteristics impedance are tabulated as follows. The magnitude of S11 value is 0.61, angle of the S11 value is minus 170 degree, and the magnitude of S21 is 2.24 and corresponding angle is 32 degree, and S12 is 0, angle also 0 degree, and S22 is 0.72, its amplitude, the corresponding angle is minus 83 degree. So this S parameter is given for the one active device. This S parameter can be obtained from the manufacturer's data sheet. So here the first thing is we have to test its stability. Here you can see that since the S12 value is 0, therefore we can note that this device is unconditionally stable because there is no reverse transmission coefficients present in its S parameter. That means the reverse signal flow from port 2 of the device to the port 1 of the device is prevented or restricted. And this transistor has the gain of 2.24 as its numeral value. So this is the gain of the given transistor G0. We can compute the G0, which is equals the modulus of S21 value square. So once we take the square of this number, we will be getting the corresponding gain from the device. So the first step is we have to test the K and del parameter to ensure its stability. Now the Rowlett's condition, the K parameter is given K equals 1 minus modulus of S11 square minus S22 square plus modulus of the del square divided by 2 times S12 and S21, which should be greater than 1 for the unconditionally stable device. And along with the auxiliary condition, modulus of del, that is a determinant value of the S parameter of the given transistor, is modulus of S11, S22 minus S12, S21. This value should be less than 1 to ensure the stability. Here the given S parameter for the transistor S12 is 0. When you substitute the S12 is 0 here, which gives K value is infinity. Therefore, it is greater than 1. Now the device passed the K parameter test to ensure the stability. Similarly, if we compute the del value by using this expression, we will be getting the value will be S12 is 0. Therefore, we have to multiple only S11, S22. When you multiple the S11, S22, it will become definitely less than 1. Therefore, the modulus of the del value also less than 1. Hence, the transistor is unconditionally stable. So, the next step is we have to compute the GS maximum. GS maximum means it is the transducer gain when the input source is complex conjugately matched. Under this condition, the input stage along with the input matching network, which gives the maximum gain of GS max, which is equals 1 by 1 minus modulus of S11 square. Now you substitute the amplitude of S11, that is 0.61 here, and simplify. Similarly, the GL maximum equals 1 by 1 minus modulus of S22. Now see, the modulus of S22 is 0.72. Now we apply this value here and simplify the expressions. We will be getting the values. GS max is 1.59. GL max is 2.08. And the corresponding logarithmic value will be 10 logarithm of this 1.59, which gives 2 dB. Similarly, we can transform the numeral gain value into the logarithmic unit by taking 10 logarithm of this number, which gives 3 dB. And then the absolute gain of the given device is 10 logarithm of modulus of S21 square, which gives 7 dB. So next we have to compute the required gain. We can see that the maximum unilateral transducer gain. Why it is unilateral? Because the S12 parameter is 0. Since the given transistor which has the S12 parameter is 0, therefore the given device is unilateral device. It is unilateral device. Therefore, the maximum unilateral transducer gain equals G0 from the device plus GS from the input matching network plus GL from the output matching network. Since all the gains are represented in decibel logarithmic unit, we can add up each other. Therefore, the G0 is 7 dB plus 2 dB plus 3 dB, which gives 12 dB. But so maximum gain that can be obtained from the given amplifier system will be 12 dB. But the specification is we have to design an amplifier which has the gain of 10 dB only. But this amplifier system can offer up to 12 dB of gain. We have 2 dB gain in excess. So we have to reduce the 2 dB of gain from the maximum 12 dB of the gain, and we want to make it at 10 dB. So the required unilateral transducer gain is 10 dB. So the next step is we have to choose the gain from each stage. The gain from the transistor cannot be controlled by the designer, since it is decided by the transistor manufacturer. Therefore, the gain of 7 dB from the active device cannot be altered by the designer. Therefore, this gain should be taken as it is. We cannot do any alteration. So, we have to design an amplifier of 10 dB gain. The device can give 7 dB. So, the rest we need 3 dB of gain. The 3 dB of gain can be obtained this way. We can choose the 1 dB of gain from the input matching network. The input matching network can give 2 dB of maximum gain. From the 2 dB of maximum gain, we can choose only 1 dB. That means we have to do some deliberate mismatch in this matching network at the source end to reduce the gain of 1 dB from 2 dB and we want to make it only 1 dB from this stage. This is a logarithmic unit of 1 dB. So already we have the 7 dB. Now we add with 1 dB from the source matching network. So this 1 dB now transform into numeral value by using the transformation 10 raised to 1 by 10, which gives us 1.26 as its corresponding numerical value for the GS. Similarly, the output matching network can give maximum of 3 dB. What we need in addition, we have now 7 plus 1 8 dB, we need 2 dB only. So we can choose only 2 dB from the maximum available 3 dB. Again we transform the 2 dB into numerical number as 1.58. So now you add with 2 dB from GL. So total will be 7 plus 1 plus 2, 10 dB. So we have to design an amplifier of 10 dB gain. This way we can choose the GS value and GL value. Once we choose the GS and GL value, the next step is we have to compute the normalized GS and GL. The normalized GS equals GS value, that is this one we have chosen now. So the chosen value for the GS divided by GS maximum. The GS maximum is obtained from this expression. So by applying the GS, that is our option GS divided by the GS maximum, which gives the GS normalized value. Similarly, the normalized GL value equals our option value for GL divided by GL maximum. GL maximum already we have computed as 2.08, and what we have chosen for GL is 1.58. So 1.58 divided by 2.08 as per this formula, which gives the GL value is 0.76. Similarly, the GS value. The GS value what we have chosen is 1.26 divided by the maximum 1.59 as per this expression gives us the normalized GS value of 0.792. Now we have computed both GS and GL in normalized value form. The next step is we have to compute the center of the gain circle and radius of the gain circle, one at the source, another one at the load end. So this is the formula to compute the center of the gain circle at the source end. CS equals GS S11 star. GS is this value. We can put it over here. We need to have S11 star. So the S11 star value is, this is the S11 value 0.61. So the S11 star equals the same amplitude 0.61 and angle of the given angle for S11 is minus 170 degree. Now we have to invert the sign of the angle. Now it becomes positive 170 degree. So the complex conjugate of S11 is the same amplitude 0.61, angle of inverse to the sign it will be 170 degree. Now we substitute this value in this expression and simplify, and for this case the S11 modulus of S11, for modulus of S11 simply you have to take this one amplitude alone. Now you substitute the amplitude only in this place. And then simplify this expression. Similarly, to compute the RS, it is root of 1 minus GS. The GS value is this one. And modulus of S11, this one 0.61. And simplify this expression, which gives the CS value is 0.524. It is the center of the gain circle. Angle is 170 degree. Similarly, the radius of the constant gain circle at the source end is 0.31. You can see that the center of the circle is a complex quantity, whereas the radius of the circle is a real quantity. Similarly, to compute the center of the circle and radius of the circle at the load end, you can use these two expressions. I substitute the corresponding value S22 star. S22 star equals this is the S22 0.72 angle minus 83 degree, and the corresponding S22 star, that is the complex conjugate of this S22, will be equals 0.72. Just invert the sign of angle, it will be 83 degree. Now you substitute that value here in this place, S22 star, and GL value, we have computed the GL value is this value 0.76. So you substitute the 0.76 at this place and also here, and simplify this expression. Similarly, you can compute the radius of constant gain circle by using these expressions. The computed values are the center of the constant gain circle at load CL equals 0.625 angle 83 degree, and the radius of the constant gain circle at the load end is equals 0.269. So the next step is we have to draw these two circles, one at the source end, another one at the load end on the Smith chart. So we have a Smith chart. So in this Smith chart, first step is we have to locate 170 degree to mark the center of the constant gain circle at the source end. Now you find the 170 degree on the Smith chart. So in the Smith chart, this is 0 degree. The marking is available on the Smith chart, and this one will be 90 degree. This marking, this is 180 degree, and it is as per the marking says that this is 170 degree. How much we have to mark it now? 170 degree. Therefore, you mark the 170 degree on the Smith chart. Once you mark the 170 degree on the Smith chart, Now you draw a straight line from this 170° to the center of the Smith chart. You draw a straight line from this 170° to the center of the Smith chart, and also you extend this line in the opposite direction. Next, we have to locate the center of the Smith gain circle. So this Smith chart, which has the radius of 8.5 centimeter. So the radius of the Smith chart is equals 8.5 centimeter. Now you multiply the 8.5 centimeter with this number 0.524. When we multiply the 8.5 with 0.524, which gives 4.45 centimeter. So the corresponding value to locate on the Smith chart is 4.45 centimeter. How do we get this number? We have to multiply the radius of the chart. The commercially available Smith chart, which has the radius of 8.5 centimeter, and we have to multiply this 8.5 centimeter with 0.524, which gives 4.45 centimeter. Now you locate this 4.45 centimeter on the Smith chart. So using a linear scale, you locate the 4.45 centimeter on the Smith chart. This is that point. So this point is the 4.45 centimeter. Similarly, next we have to compute the radius. So for the radius computation, the radius value is 0.31. So this 0.31 multiplied with 8.5 centimeter, which gives 2.63 centimeter. Now using a compass, you draw a circle with a radius of 2.6 centimeter. Now you have a radius 2.6 centimeter, and the center of the circle is at 4.45 centimeter from the middle or center of the Smith chart. Now you draw a circle. Okay, once you draw the circle, now this circle represents on the contour of the circle every point on the circumference of the circle which has the same gain of 1 dB. So this circle is the 1 dB circle. That is, this circle is constant gain circle at the source, GS of 1 dB. So this is a 1 dB constant gain circle. Once we draw the constant gain circle, we can choose any point over the circumference of the circle as the required gamma S. But it is a best practice to choose the gamma S which is very close to the center of the Smith chart in order to have a good matching and to avoid a much problem of designing the matching network at the corresponding source. Therefore, we can choose any point, remember, but it is a best practice to choose the gamma s, which is very close to the middle of the semi-chart, and middle of the semi-chart is here. Therefore, the very nearer to the middle of the semi-chart point on the circle is this one, and you mark this one as gamma s. So this one is the gamma s. Okay. Once you choose the gamma s, the next thing is we have to do the transformation. Before that, we draw the circle for load and side also. So to draw the circle at the load and side, the same procedure we can follow. You multiply this number 0.625 by 8.5 centimeter, then you will be getting the radius in centimeter, center of the constant gain circle in centimeter. Similarly, you transform the RL value of 0.269 by multiplying with 8.5 centimeter, which transform this numeral number into the radius in centimeter scale. Once you transform those two value, now you have a compass, make it as a center, and the radius computed by using this step. Now you draw the circle. So this circle is constant gain circle at the load end, which has 2 dB circle. So this is the 2 dB constant gain circle. So on the circumference of the circle, every point which has the same gain of 2 dB. We can choose any one of the points among the infinite number of points on it, but it is a best practice to choose the gamma L, which is very close to the center of the semi-chart. This is the center of the semi-chart. This point is very close to the center of the semi-chart. Therefore, you can choose the gamma L here. This doesn't mean that you should not choose any point on the circumference of the circle far away from the middle of the chart. No, you can choose anything. If you choose anything arbitrarily or some point which is far away from the center of the semi-chart, and the problem is the matching network which will be if you have to use some transmission line length as well as the single step line, the size will be somewhat larger. That also induce some unwanted phase shift problems and all. Therefore, in order to avoid those, we can choose the gamma L value, which is very close to the middle of the chart. So here we have chosen this point is our gamma L. Once we did these things, these are the two circles, one for constant gain circle at source, another one for at load. So the next step is we have to transform this 50 ohm source impedance as well as the load impedance into the required gamma S or ZS value. Now you read the ZS value corresponds to this point gamma S. So the reading, just read the point. This point which has a real part value, this one, and the imaginary, that is the reactance value of this point will be this one. Similarly, this case also, this will be the real part value and this will be the corresponding imaginary parts value. Once we read those, the z is read as 0.64 plus j 0.05 ohm from the Schmitt chart after doing the denormalization, that is multiplied by 50 ohm. The actual source impedance will be 32 plus j 2.5 ohm. Similarly, we can compute it for the load side also. Now, the next step is we have to transform. This is the gamma S. Actually, we have 50 ohm as a source characteristic resistance. So that we have to transform the 50 ohm into gamma S by introducing a input matching network. This is the input matching network. This network consists of one open circuited stub and one series transmission line which connects the input terminal of the device with the source. So our aim is to compute the length of the series transmission line, that is 0.121 lambda, and then we have to compute the length of open circuited stub using the Schmitt chart. So this one can be done. Now you mark the gamma S value. This is the gamma S value. This that line which is passing from 170 degree through the middle of the chart and extended in opposite direction. Now you just follow the middle of the chart, that is the 50 ohm, on the unit circle. Unit circle is a circle which is passing through the middle of the Schmitt chart. So now from the middle of the Schmitt chart on the unit circle, you follow the unit circle upward and you stop it somewhere. This point can be an arbitrary one. Okay, so wherever you want to stop, there you can stop it. So you follow the unit circle and stop somewhere. Now you extend the line on the reactance circle. Now you extend this on the reactance circle. This is the reactance circle. Now you measure the open circuited stub length from the extreme left end point on the Schmitt chart. This is the extremely left end point on the Schmitt chart, from where you measure the length up to this. And this line is crossing the wavelength towards the generator scale at 0.067 lambda. So this one is crossing 0.067 lambda. This is the open circuited stub length, 0.067. Now you can see that this is 0.067 lambda. This is the length of the open circuited stub. The next thing is you have to compute this length. Series transmission line at the source end. For that, now you draw a straight line passing through this point where you left the point on unit circle, unit circle on the Smith chart. This is the point at which we left the points on the unit circle of the Smith chart. Now you draw a straight line from center of the chart through this point. So you draw a straight line using a linear scale. Okay. This is the extended line on the Smith chart from the gamma s value. This one is the already extended one. Now you measure the distance between this point and that point. This point crossing the wavelength towards the generator scale at 0.143 lambda, whereas this one crossing the same scale at 0.264 lambda. Now you take the difference between these two to compute the distance between these 2 points as 0.264 minus 0.143, which gives us 0.121 lambda. So this 0.121 lambda is the length of the series transmission line. This one 0.121 lambda. So now we have computed the length for both series transmission line and open circuited stub using Smith chart, and we have completed the input matching network design. So the next step is we have to compute the similar computation to construct the output matching network. This one. For that, this is the gamma L that already we have chosen. This one value. Now you follow the unit circle from the middle of the Smith chart. You follow this. Yeah, this unit circle is moving this way. And you stop it some arbitrary point. I stopped here. This is my arbitrary point at which I stopped. The next is, now you draw a line on the reactance circle. Now draw a line on the reactance circle. I go stop the point there. From that point, you draw the circle or follow the reactance circle. You follow the reactance circle. This circle crossing the wavelength towards the generator scale at 0.394 lambda. Now you measure the stub length from extreme left end of the Smith chart, that is from here. From here you measure the distance, you move all around the chart and you complete there. So this point will be 0.394 lambda. This is the length of the open circuited stub. So this one 0.394 lambda. So next we have to compute the length of this line, series line, which connects this stub with the output port of the transistor. For that, the same procedure what we have used to compute the length at the source side, the same procedure we will be using over here. Now you draw a straight line passing through this point. So this is the point at which we left that unit circle. Now draw a straight line passing through this point. This point will be crossing the wavelength towards the generator scale at 0.345 lambda. From this line, you compute the extended line. This is the line which is extended from the gamma L value. Now you measure the distance between these two on the wavelength towards the generator scale. This will be this line crossing 0.386 lambda, this one crossing at 0.345 lambda. So the difference between these two will be 0.042 lambda. So the 0.042 lambda will be the length of the series line. So this is 0.040 lambda. This is the length of the series line at the output matching network. So now we have completed the design of output matching network also. So both network is completed now. This completes the entire design. Remember, the biasing network is not shown here. The biasing network already we discussed in the last video lecture somewhere earlier. We can use the same technique to compute the Q point according to the mode of operation of the amplifier. So what we did here is reflection at input and output port reduce the gain to 10 dB from the maximum available gain of 12 dB. So this is the maximum available gain of 12 dB. From that 12 dB, actually it can able to give 12 dB of gain. We have done a deliberate mismatching by using input matching network and output matching network and reduce the gain by minus 2 dB, and we got only 10 dB. So this mismatching will introduce the reflection at the input and output port. That's why the theme is here. Reflection has been deliberately set up at the input and output port in order to reduce the gain to 10 dB from the maximum available gain of 12 dB. This completes the design.